Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody. There we go. Welcome to the 186th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic here with co-host Shannon B.
Hi.
And today's topic is let down my guard. Would you like to start us off by telling us what that means to you, Shannon? And why you were happy and ecstatic doing cartwheels to come see us today?
I'm going to switch it a little bit from let down my guard to dropping masks, which is
Whoa.
quite similar, just how I relate to
Yeah,
this topic.
sure.
I remember a close friend of mine telling me when I was coming back, you got to drop the masks if you want to get down to the root cause of things and you really want to focus on your recovery is you got to show up being the same person in every area of your life. Not to say like, I'm walking into business meetings or things like that and going, hi, I'm Shannon, I'm in recovery. Like that's not relevant, right?
Yeah.
But not putting on the show. So, he was saying to me, like, you're in a meeting, you're rolling like, you know, 10 sponsees deep and it's like a little powwow around you, and you're not letting people know that you're really struggling. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, right? It reminds me to like someone who took me the steps before that said, when I said nobody reach out to me when I need help, and it's like, do you think did you make like, or what was the word? Sorry. Do you think that you give off a persona that somebody could be of help to you? And it was like a lot of inner reflection, right? That I was the queen of showing up, looking the part, getting it done so that nobody knew just how sad, hurt, and in pain I was inside. And to do it over and over and over again. And that disconnect from self is exhausting. So here, like it's a we program. I need help. I need connection in life. And I never thought that I did. I thought like independent was a superpower. There's a difference between independence and shutting yourself off from people.
Isolation.
Exactly. So nowadays, it's the best of my ability. I'm consistent in who I am. When I'm struggling, I reach out. Even before that, I do. And I check in with my loved ones and especially with my partner, and let them know where I'm at and vice versa. Because disingenuous or trying to live two separate lives was a one-way ticket for me, right? Back to relapse. And I refused to go back there. So yeah, letting my guard down, letting love in. There's self-protection and then there's complete isolation. And I got to have a healthy balance of those two.
I love that. Letting our guard down, Woo. It means, to me, like allowing other people to see us as we really are without our pretense of defense or fears. And, I think one of the biggest things, I was rolling this around in my head the last few days. And I think one of the biggest things that I would be at fault for in this is participating in conversations that I may not be comfortable with for the sake of feeling like a peer pressure.
Mm.
And the biggest one for me is gossip. When there's like gossip happening about somebody and I'm like present and two people are talking and then they kind of pull me in and I don't call it gossip or back out of it, I feel like I am pretending then. And I feel like I'm being contrary to what my desired intentions are with
Oh,
who I am, you know? And I realized that, and I was like, and something happened this week with a couple friends. I'll just briefly tell this story, and then we can get into the other part. But there was our meeting is at a church. This church has like a low two levels, and we're on the top floor. And on the lower level, they receive food from a lot of the grocery stores that's just on the expiration or going bad, and then they actually have a food safe kitchen, and they either process it or kind of clean it up and get it out to people who need food. And I guess they had a really big load come in on the Tuesday, and so when we went to our meeting on the Wednesday, up by our hallway, there was like two boxes of apples on the ground and a box with pickles in it. And so one of the guys comes walking in, and I think he goes to there and gets food when they're open or whatever. But this did not say take me, right? There was no sign. And so he grabbed a jar of pickles, and I kind of said to him, I said, "Hey, stealing one from God, hey? Like, what's going on?" And well, because I felt awkward. Like, this is our
Yeah.
group. There was nothing that said it wasn't ours. And I actually made an amends to both of these guys. I want to just say, because I shouldn't have like basically called them thieves, but I should have told them that it made me uncomfortable because there was no signage. So then he puts the jar back after a whole bunch of grumbling and whatever. And then at the end, my friend who I love dearly, this old timer in and he grabs an apple and a jar of pickles. And I was just like, oh, I'm like, just like Randy. I'm like, I'm like, I think I was like, hey, light fingers, McGee. I'm like, just like Randy. And I was like, and he's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, well, they're not saying to take it. He's like, well, he's like, it's obviously for the food bank. I'm like, where's the obviousness in this? What if that was like for a specific family or something like that? Like, I'm like, there's nothing here that's like, we're the representatives of AA here, and the shit's getting stolen in the hallway. I'm like, what if I like the microphone that's on the stage in the other room, or that on the altar? I'm like, I need a mic just like you need an apple. Like, you know? Anyway, both of them ended up leaving me messages later that day, saying that they really didn't like to be called a thief and blah blah blah. And I realized my delivery was not good, but my intentions and my feelings about it, like, and so anyway, my point to all this is that through the process of learning to let down our guard, we also have to learn the right etiquette of communication, because for me, I'm foreign to that kind of honesty without it coming out as attacking. Yeah. So anyway, that's my weird story for the week, and I'm not sure if my friends fully understood my perspective or whether they actually still feel offended about me. But I made my amend, and I told them where I thought it was wrong, and I told them, that how I was uncomfortable too, because I'm the guy who's signing for the room to be open. So basically, it's like me condoning stealing under my watch is how I feel. You know?
No, I get it for sure.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, you know? And like you said, like if it's for the food bank, then let it be for the food bank, right?
We'll let them decide when it goes out. And if
Yeah.
they wanted it taken by anybody, they would have put a sign, "Take me." Don't you think? Like, because it's behind a locked door in the church, right? Anyway, I feel like
Oh, it was
that's,
behind a locked door?
well, like, I, the door, like, the church was open for them to come into the meeting just for our meeting. It wasn't like the church door was open and that was in a section for people to grab food. Like,
Oh,
it wasn't like on a stand that's like regular for the food bank. It was actually in an unusual place that there has been no food in the 4 months I've been going to this church. So to me, I'm just like, whoa, what's with the assumption that's free? Like,
yeah, that's a
anyway, look at me taking other people's inventory. But the one thing I stand firm about on it is, okay, I should not. I made an amend for name calling, but I do feel that as the person who's responsible for the safety of the church with my name on it, unless something's labeled, you don't take it, right?
I
Like,
agree with you.
like You don't just go in a store and be like, man, I really like cookies. I'm like, it's a good thing you have a whole shelf of cookies. I'm taking one. That's what it feels like to me.
Could you imagine though? You just were like, they had like a display of something, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, these must be out for us to help ourselves too. I could really use a 50 pack of Halloween candy.
And while I'm at it, it's been a while since I could afford steak, so I might as well take the biggest chunk you have. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is great. I love the way this is starting out.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to fire it up with some questions or what?
Sure. Yeah. So letting our guard down is not weakness, it's the first true act of courage in recovery. How has vulnerability strengthened rather than weakened your recovery, Shannon B?
Mm. The ability to ask for help and share truly from my heart, like where I'm at and the things I'm experiencing and my in real time relation to the steps when I'm sharing in meetings, right? Because I know will come up to me after and they're like, thank you for being so honest, like that really hit home for me. I can go up there. I know that book. Been doing this, few years for sure. And I can spit the book, but I can never let you know who I really am. And therefore
Hmm.
I'm doing a disservice to myself and to everyone. And I gotta get vulnerable and honest with like myself, with God. God already sees, right? But if I can show up and be that way with my loved ones and let them in, like it's not a weakness. I used to think needing help or not being able to manage everything was a sign of weakness. That strength was stoic and go, 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 go. And people can come to me, like Mother Teresa that I am. I'll help the people, but I'll solve my own stuff myself and just keep that wall up all the time. It's disconnect. It's the opposite of connection, and I need connection.
I love that. So, how has vulnerability strengthened rather than weakened my recovery? You know, I had a lot of prejudice before coming in the program. Prejudice against the religion, higher power thing, prejudice against sobriety itself. Like my prejudice against sobriety was that I prejudged it before I even gave it the chance of seeing somebody happy in sobriety, you
Mm.
know? And so I think, that when my event happened and I had the turning point of becoming willing and, my mind becoming open, right? Like that transition of my mind becoming open minded was literally the vulnerability of admitting that maybe I'm wrong about all this, you know? Like, and I think it's like people, I think some people see like open-mindedness as just this like cracking seed and growing up to the sun, but part of that open-mindedness is the death of what you were closed-minded with,
Mm.
and so once you start like saying, oh shit, I was wrong, right? Like that part of the process is painful and it leaves you vulnerable. Like, how many times in your life before the program where you're like, hi, I'm Shannon, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm right here. I'm Shannon. I'm so happy to be wrong. Please save my life with wrongness. Like, that's not how life was for me. Like one of the things that I benefited from this program the most is learning that now I'm okay with being wrong because it's generally meaning I'm going to grow in some way. And before, it was just like, I fucking hate being wrong. I'm a math guy. Anything that's wrong means I can't logically figure it out, you
And I
know?
should be able to logically figure it out,
I should
right?
logically figure out everything because I'm smarter than you. Like, like that was just, like it was a real egoic thing for sure. And the problem with math is that it reinforces that. The longer you stay in that field, if the more people drop by the wayside who just can't even keep up in that. And so then obviously you're going to think you're right more than others, because you are right more than others on what you're looking at in life. Like if you just keep the blinders on and you find something you're good at, you're like, I'm the best. I don't make mistakes, you know? And but when you open that up to like life and principles and love and freedom and peace and serenity, it's like, man, I was nowhere on those scales. Like in fact, I would have like probably fought against the idea of seeking a peaceful, serene life. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's my answer to that one. Do you got a question?
I do. That was great. You always get me thinking, like I said, you know. Okay. So when I let my guard down and I drop the mask, I choose honesty over honesty over perfection and peace over pretending. How do you feel, or give me some examples, I should say, of where you've noticed yourself choosing honesty over perfection and peace over pretending? Because you and I have always been like type A. What?
Are you wearing a
Nothing's
black
wrong
shirt
here.
today? Are we like matching here today?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the black memo.
To everybody out there, we didn't plan this, but we certainly look good. Uh,
Guilty.
yeah, guilty. Honesty. Okay, honesty over.
Over perfection and peace over pretending.
Well, I think, the honesty over perfection was almost exactly what I was just talking about. Like this
I
question
know.
actually goes perfectly into that, is that, I spent so long trying to prove my powerfulness. And to anybody new out there, what I mean is I'm referring to the first step where we admitted we were powerless and that our lives had become unmanageable. Probably from the time I was about 35, there was incidences, I called them incidents. And when they would happen, it would be some sort of like either I'd hurt myself or emotionally hurt others or embarrass my entire family or whatever. But in that last 17-year period of my abuse, really, it just like I kept trying to control things, and then there would be some thing that would happen, and it would obviously prove my powerlessness. So I think finally, at that point where when I did die, it was like I really could admit my powerlessness for the first time. And I would say that that was like that first moment of honesty with my disease that I ever had. And quite frankly, before I came into options, I didn't even understand it as a disease, which, like, that's the thing is you can't, it can't be a moral deficiency and a disease at the same time. It's like
Mhm.
when you decide or believe that it's one or the other, there's no sometimesies. And that was something that Michelle and I had to reconcile over time. It was like she was okay with it being a disease sometimes, but then there was like, but remember this and that. And it's like, well, if it's actually a disease, then it's a disease all the time and not just when it's convenient for you to say I'm diseased, like, and, and,
Right?
and, and it's also though, like, the same for me. Like, I can't pretend and sometimes say, well, it's like this, and other times it's like that. Like, it either is or it isn't. And then what was the second part to that? Peace over.
When you choose peace over pretending.
Yeah. So, man, like, I would say, quite frankly, for me, it would be when I choose to shut up when people are gossiping, and instead of just pretending to fit in to the group or whatever, you know? Like there's just times where I'm um it's very hard to be concerned and talk about like an absent member from a meeting without there being some level of gossip. Like for real, you know? Like it's almost like there has to be a list. Like, hey, where's that person? Oh, okay, they're safe. Thank you. And it's like, shut up. Because it's like, hey, are they really there? Like speculation is gossiping, you know? Speculation about somebody, and to be quite honest, it's none of our fucking business. Like, yes, somebody should be given a call if if we see they're going wayward or not communicating. That's one thing. But we don't need to speculate about their condition with others because the 12 by 12 basically, you know, that it says that's just acting out in self-righteousness.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I think that's my answer for that. And what about your answer for that, Shannon?
Honesty over perfection. Well,
I thought you were
see, like
perfect. No.
I thought that like by striving for that at all times was like the answer, but um being real apparently is better. It's it's just funny. Like when I think back to like different chapters in my life and different times in addiction outside of it, right? It's like I'd either be like so honest to the point of like a complete overshare that's usually drug induced. Um, or everything's perfect, everything's fine, you know? But like not in a fake way, but also just like trying to look like, I let people get close to me and things like that, but I always keep it together, you know? Like I figured as long as you looked together, you could somehow fix the inside based on how you showed up on the outside. And that wasn't being honest. You know what I mean? Like when you were talking, I was taking what you were saying in, and I was thinking too, like you would say things that jog my memory, and it was like I would remember like being, one disgruntled thought away from wanting to throw in the towel in life, basically, to saying to myself as I'm going out the door to an event or something that's going to be performative for me, and me saying, playing the part of so tonight is, you
Shannon
remember those
B.
old soaps when they would have like the main character would be gone, so they'd sub somebody in and they'd be like playing the part of Carly, blah 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 is, and like that's how I felt like I was. It was like, and go. And it got harder and harder and harder to keep that up. So now, yeah, when I'm going places, do I walk in and I'm Debbie Downer if I'm just not feeling it? No, but I also don't force myself to do things that go against what I and like gut feel. Saying no, having boundaries, removing myself from toxic conversations, limiting time spent with people that can be like an emotional vampire, and really relying on God more. So being honest with myself, being honest with my loved ones about my limitations, that was a big one. Like not long ago, I had to say to my sister, sister, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm feeling. And if I, you know, da 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 da, overcommit in this area, like this is how that affects me. And she's always been one of my biggest supporters, And she was like, "Sister, I get it, dude. Like, I get it, no problem. You got to look after you and your recovery and all that." But there was a tinge of me that felt guilty. Like, here I am being a drain on my family again. And it's like, but I'm not. I'm just saying, hey, like, I have to kind of limit things for myself because I take on too much and emotionally I'm just not good. But that's part of the commitment I made to my recovery. Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, like that's been a big one about like being honest over being perfect, and that peace over pretending. Um, Making peace with life on life's terms. not pretending it needs to be any certain way. This is real. Here's who I am, mess and all, and take it or leave it.
Love that.
God's approval, not the approval of others.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Are you ready for a question?
Hit me.
The walls that once kept others out also kept us trapped inside. What have you discovered about freedom through emotional openness? Kind of ties nicely into what you were just talking about.
Ooh.
It's funny how our questions are actually leading into our, like the opposite person's questions today.
It was how my openness has helped my emotional sobriety. Was that, did I get that correct?
How have you discovered about freedom, or what have you discovered about freedom through emotional openness?
Oh,
Voila.
so much, honestly. Um, it's exhausting to try and show up as something that you're not when you're just not feeling it. And I was never fixing the root, right? And now, like, the more I'm connected to self, the more I'm connected to God, the more open I am to receiving love as well, showing it, the more authentic I am, the more I align my actions with what is morally sound and right for me. And I come from a place of integrity. It strengthens my recovery, more than anything, my emotional sobriety. Not as sensitive, not as quick to react, not as, don't get me wrong, I have my moments, so we all do. But and I can own them. But the ability to take accountability is been the most freeing thing for me. Hey, I'm living in step 10 all day, every day. And when I'm wrong, I'm promptly admitting it. I'm making amends where needed. I'm asking for help. I'm course correcting and I'm not beating myself up. I'm just going out and being a maximum service to the next person that comes along. Like those, those simple core guidelines, God first, accountability, honesty, boundaries, limitations, discipline, self-respect, like all those characteristics and like core values, the more I stay aligned with those, the more free I feel in every way. And I'm more emotionally open to share with others.
You done? That
I
was a
think
sneaky ending, if that was
I
it.
think so. I was thinking of something else. I think I've said on the podcast before.
We're allowed to repeat ourselves.
Some difficult chapters in life, I'll put it that way. Some call therapists will call them significant traumas. Being able to get through those and do the work to be released from that now and be able to take those experiences and harness like the courage, strength, and acceptance. Not meaning acceptance is like I'm not accepting it in a way that I'm saying it's okay, but I'm no longer, being tied by anger or shame or any of that. We have to take what I've learned from those experiences and help another woman is truly such a gift of, vulnerability, strength, coming to terms with your life. And yeah, that's a huge freedom too, knowing like none of this was in vain, I was able to help someone else as a result. And that's what I feel my true calling is in life is being of help to people by, emotionally bonding.
I love that. The walls that once kept others out also kept us trapped inside. What have I discovered about freedom through emotional openness? You know that if um, if I allow myself to be reactive, I have no freedom, and so one of the things that, have you ever listened to the Course in Miracles or ever even heard of it? A
I've
course?
heard of it and I've heard parts of it. I haven't done the whole course underneath it.
Yeah, I have not done the whole course, but I'm currently listening to or listen to one kind of like summary for another offer and another one right now, and and basically one of the things that my kind of takeaway is that love and kindness are the correct responses to every situation, right? So it's like kind of about either um, perfecting our path to forgiveness or to creating a better state of love within us, so that we're less affected, right? And I think I've said this on this podcast before, but I'll say it 1,000 times, is that I had the serenity prayer backwards. I thought that I needed acceptance to get serenity, and there's a reason why it says grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, because if you can create that conscious contact and serenity and peace inside you, then it's like a shield of armor for how you react to the world. Because if you're coming in with love and acceptance at that point from that place, it's really hard to knock me off my off of my position in that serenity. And so you know um it's like things like expectations trap me in cycles of emotional patterns.
Mm,
And so I had a big one this week where, and so like surrendering, like surrendering is like patience is surrendering in real time. And also quick forgiveness, of something is something that I'm working on. Like the quicker I can forgive, the less paperwork I have for it. I haven't had the resentment. I didn't do the shortcoming, and now I don't need to do the amends. Like if I'm just like quicker to forgive on things. And um and so I had this thing come up with my daughter. She works for me, and I'm not shit talking her. I'm talking about something that was a profound change in the pattern of my relationship with her this week. Like, so she was supposed to have done this work for me, and she's down in Mexico. We filmed these videos right before she left. She edits these videos and then sends them back to me. And so on Sunday night, I'm just finishing up a podcast, and I get a message. Gotta tell you something you're not gonna want to hear. Well, not only did she not edit the videos like she promised in the airport on her way, she actually deleted them all. And so, like, two things right there that I was, I had an expectation that if I filmed the videos fucking exist. Okay. I also had the expectation, she told me she was going to edit them and send them, that was going to happen. She has the expectation that I'm going to pay her, right? Like this is anyway. So I just typed, I don't know how to react right now. And I left it for the night because I didn't know how to react. And knew, I knew that I did not want to react like I was feeling, which would have been anger and guilt provoking. Like those were the two instinctive things. Like I identified right away, like neither one do I like. And the reality is one thing I'm learning right now from this Course in Miracles is that it's like I'm dropping a sword of anger and guilt provoking on my own head if I'm sending that out to her. Because whatever you think you send another spirit is not what that spirit receives. They like think of how misconstrued our communication is, let alone like emotional projecting. I can't be like Shannon love, and Shannon's just like I feel love. Like Shannon could be having a shitty day, and she might be like he's kind of being a jerk, like it could anyway. So I woke up the next morning. I fell asleep. Like I was exhausted. This podcast ended early. I fell asleep ridiculously early. I think I was asleep by 7 p.m. Like I just went upstairs, changed, and fell asleep, and until I woke up really early. Like I wake up early to begin with, but this was like 3 a.m. and I'm not tired. Like I had had 8 hours sleep. Like, and I was like, okay, this is it. Like I'm getting up. And I came downstairs and I started doing my two-way prayer and I asked for guidance on how to deal with this. And it just came to me that it was like, right now, I am standing at a turning point. And that turning point involves either progressing as we've always progressed in my relationship with her, with this, misbehaving child, angry father, guilt provoking, resentment on her part, resentment on my part. We'll smooth it over in a few days with a pile of sarcasm, or it was just like, just was like re record the videos, get this done, and try to put love into the day with her. And so, I basically was like, okay, I recorded the videos. She was still sleeping. I recorded the videos. I sent her all the information she needed for the background chart stuff and scanned that and sent it to her. And I sent her a message saying, look, I really want to change things with us. I'm sending you these videos. I'm going to expect them to be edited today. But the one thing is like, I want our relationship to be about love and forgiveness. And so I have to be the one to start with this. I said, so please, let's just not talk about this and let's just take this as us being different right now. And it was. And when I talked, like, I had the most free feeling day, Shannon, on Monday ever. And it was amazing. And, and so, being open emotionally to love and surrender versus the safety of my shitty patterns, you know. And then I had a talk with Bryant about this. And I'm just going to end with this. I'm sorry if I'm talking for too long.
No,
But,
I'm enjoying what you're saying.
but Bryant's like, dude, he's like, that's step 7. He's like, you were entirely ready. And he's like, and that's why it changed. And what I learned this week was that step 7, we're entirely ready to have God remove these shortcomings, means that we have to be at a point that we are willing to experience the discomfort and the pain and own our misdirection before it's going to happen. Like, because if it's like, hey, please take away this shortcoming, but every time it feels uncomfortable, I fight back and do the same pattern, then we're not entirely ready. And so that was my massive like epiphany day for the week.
I love that. Wow. I was like, wonder, because that would have been a tough one for me too.
It was, that's the thing is that, you know, it just all happened in a sequence of time where I was like, I'm literally sitting here asking for change or guidance. And it came and I listened to it and I was like, damn, that was some good guidance. like, like whether it's my higher power, whether it's my intuition, whether it's just actually principles, it's rarely telling me to be a shithead. Never is, in fact.
Wow. Welcome back, everyone. Or
Yeah.
I don't know if we're doing that or you were cutting that out or not, but um, yes. So I got a good question, Milan. What if
Mhm.
the version of you have been protecting is the one ready to rise?
What if the version of me I have been
It's
protecting?
about dropping the mask and letting your guard down. So
Wow. So, like, I have been looking, like, it's very weird. I'm doing these 2-step groups right now. And also this one workshop with one of my sponsees. So I'm almost doing 3 step 4 simultaneously. I call it step 4 in 3D. But one of the things that I'm really seeing is how at a very early age certain fundamental beliefs about myself, about my worthiness, about my beauty, about a lot of very self-limiting qualities and beliefs have been laid onto me. And part of it, like even like something like the belief that others are attacking me when they're talking to me because of feeling bullied and picked on and whatever. And so my reaction became to strike back and bully back. Like, quite frankly, it's just like kill or be killed kind of mentality. And so this question just takes me to kind of into where I'm at a little bit inside myself of seeing who is that, that inner child that never got to love, never got to feel loved, never got to think he's okay as he is. Like, I'm not even sure that I still do now, but I do more than I did 2 years and 20 days ago, but hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what time is it going to be? Like, we got what, how many more days till your 2 year? I'm just saying, everybody out there, if you got Shannon's phone number, you better give her a call. But anyway, um, that was a little transference there. Uh,
Like
so
it.
yeah, I think, I think that there absolutely that is the case. Is getting right now to see who that person is, and then learning to forgive, accept, and love that person is really a big part of my journey right now. Like, some people are like, oh, I didn't know who I was until I came into recovery. And they're saying that at like 3 months in. And I'm like, man, I'll be lucky to fucking know myself at 5 years in. Like, really, like, the further I'm going into it, the more I'm seeing how thick some of those skins of protection are. Like, they're so thick that I believe they're walls, or I believe they're skin. Like, and quite frankly, then it comes into, like, how they say that your emotional maturity has been stunted at the age that you started using or drinking or whatever. And so then now it's like trying to take this stunted inner child and grow into a man at the age of 53. And that's just a whole nother journey, because it's like, whoa, okay, I have to now take this delicate creature inside me and learn how to act properly as a man in parenting, married, adult child, like, there's a whole lot of roles that that have to be modified to fit the new person. And uh and then it's like fighting against the expectations of others for me to have stayed the same. People got comfortable with who I was. And there was a whole lot of people pleasing going on that isn't now. And that's another uncomfortable shift, right? But there's also a whole lot more love and service happening, which is, to some people is really appreciated. And to other people, it was like, I kind of liked you absent and saying sorry. It's true.
It's true though, I laugh, but it's true. Not everybody wants to see it better or likes the version or is comfortable
Man, I spent 52 years
with the
making
version
rolls.
of Stone. Exactly.
And
It's
it's
like,
just like,
okay,
and they're like, whoa, 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 we're not changing nothing. Like, relatives, they're like in their 50s to 80s. They're like, we don't change that shit now.
I know.
Yep. So now you've got to answer that one.
Yes. So I'm becoming more and more my authentic self the more I grow. And a lot of it had to do with my own self-esteem, my own feelings of self-worth and self-confidence, right? When that wasn't there, it was easier to just show up and look like I was together, than to really say, hey, you know what? I'm struggling right now. I'm not doing well. Also, asking for help means doing something to change it, right? And when it came to stopping drinking, there's several periods throughout my life where I didn't want to stop. I wanted the pain to stop, but not enough to give up the crutch. Um, so yeah, the more that I grow in authenticity and get more right with myself, right with God more than anything, and feel like I'm enough, I can be unguarded and real, right? I feel like there's also a part of being like unfiltered too, right? And that's never been a problem I've had. I've probably been overly unfiltered. My close friends and family would say, they'd be like, yeah, she always says what she feels or what's on her mind. Yeah, just aligning who I am inside with who I am showing up as outside. And it's not to say that like we have to just go around being a billboard for every feeling we're having or every emotion we're processing, but you don't have to be strong all the time on your own. There's asking for help that helps my real authentic self rise.
Woof. I
How I
love that.
feel. How
I
I
know.
feel, my friend.
I love that though. I love how you said that. My real authentic self rise. Whew. Okay, so fear tells us that safety is in hiding. Faith teaches us that safety is in truth. How has faith helped you drop the armor of fear over time?
How has safety, did you say?
No, how has faith
Faith.
helped you drop the armor of fear over time? Like using fear.
Faith replaces fear. Right?
Yes. But how has that faith made you
Mhm.
drop the armor of fear? The old patterns of scaredy Shan,
Um,
which I won't call you. That won't be a new nickname. Don't
oh,
worry.
that's okay. Um, I said, well, first of all, I had to get honest in my step work that I had fears. Like I didn't believe that I did. And I thought I was so fearless, but there's a big difference between reckless and fearless, right? Um, so yeah, like more I lean into God and I trust. And like trust isn't just a thought, it's an action plan. I don't know the outcome of things. Like when I shifted in my career, when I took time off because I needed to focus on getting better, right? And fully lean into my recovery. If I had been running solely on fear and that, I wouldn't have allowed myself to do it. But because I didn't know the outcome, I didn't know what things would look like for me financially, I didn't know what the future was going to look like. I had to fully trust God. So faith over fear is really an action step. It's not just saying, okay, I have faith that things are going to work out the way that they are, but then still try to micromanage and control everything in my life or spin it to work in my advantage. Um, and I didn't realize how much fear I was living in, right? I was saying I had faith, but I was still operating in fear, and fear was losing what I have or not getting what I wanted in multiple areas of my life. But even now, there's something that I know needs to change here pretty soon, but I have a financial fear around it. And and my belief system is like, I ask God to show me and help me stay faithful to his plan for me. And then he'll show me things, but I'll still be like, well, if this happens, then I'll do this. But it's financially motivated. And I'm honest about that, right?
Yeah.
So
We
yeah, I'm
still
not.
we still have our time in this physical world. And I'll tell you one thing is that I enjoy the word comfortable. It has able and comfort in it, and I want to be
Yeah.
able to have comfort. And I lived a lot of years in complete disregard of comfort, and merely in sometimes instances to prove it. But now I'm proving that I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask. Oh no, I have to answer this one. Sorry, I'm going to ask myself this one. Okay, how has faith helped me drop the armor of fear over time. You know, faith has been a fundamental turning point in surrendering and dropping fears. You know, like a big fear that I was experiencing, like we were really close to losing our house this spring, you know, and that fear of economic uncertainty. Like, you know, when they say the promises, well, I haven't got that one yet, right? Like I had not had that one yet. I had not even experienced a close lack of fear of economic uncertainty. And and I would say that, you know, right now it's gone from zero in February, zero faith in that, to about 80%. I would say that 80% of the time I feel like faith in my economic certainty. And then there's like 20% of the time where maybe I had a little too much caffeine, maybe I didn't sleep enough, maybe I'm just coming out of a bad experience in a conversation with somebody else and I'm just off, you know, and I'm not in that serene state. I got a hair going in my eye, and I don't even have long hairs, so I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, and so for me, that's one that has drastically changed, and the way that it I facilitated that change was praying gratitude for that faith.
Mm.
And you know, I've realized two things over the last few months is that first of all, gratitude is one of the muscles we can flex. Like if you don't go to the gym of gratitude, you don't build your gratitude muscle. You know, like it is a conscious thing. It's not like you don't Hail Mary gratitude. You make gratitude part of your day. For me, and when I say you, I mean me. And when I say part of your day, I mean all the fucking time. But but it's true though. Like it's just like if you can, the more you can maintain gratitude. You know, one of the things that came to me in my two-way prayer thing was practice gratitude in shorter intervals. You know, and also try to remain grateful and see the amazingness in other people. If you can do that more frequently and tell them, you'll be surprised how those people are doing less shit that pisses you off. How much you're more seeing the goodness in them. And the real trick to me is letting them know. Everybody wants everybody wants to feel that kind of appreciation. Like, you know, when you're like, hey man, you're really good at that. You know, like I admire that in you. And you know what? It makes people feel nice. And 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 it doesn't mean you're people pleasing. It means you're pleasing people.
Oh,
Yeah.
zing.
Yeah. I really think I just made that up. I'm gonna
I
write that
like
down.
that. You gotta write that down. Write that
Yeah.
nugget down.
Yeah. And so for me, doing things like that, like the gratitude and the prayer of the gratitude really helps me with different fears, and it also helps me building faith. And I'm going to leave that one there. So, do you want to do one more quick question, or are we good? What are you saying?
Do do you have any lightning round stuff? Those are always so
Oh,
fun.
okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Here we go. We're going into lightning round
Okay.
now. Da da da. Getting the timer set for 1 minute. Shannon B, sitting on the edge of your seat, ready for some lightning round. How has humility revealed new dimensions of strength in you? Ha ha! You wanted lightning round.
Oh, but I don't even know. Yes. Well, being really leaning into humility, admitting I'm wrong, right? That's a strength to be able to say, hey, I'm human. I didn't handle that well. And it's an opportunity for growth and to course correct and to show up better the next time, right? Sharing how I'm feeling, when I'm not doing well, when I'm struggling, all of that lets people in closer to me. And that's a strength to be able to bond and build that connection rather than go to that isolation that I'm used to. And also love, deepens love and connection by being vulnerable and creating a space that people can be vulnerable with me as well.
Woof! Smoke sit out in 49 seconds. Look at that Shannon B go. How has humility revealed new dimensions of strength in me? Well, for me, I think what it is, when I think of humility, and they always say, if you talk about humility, you don't got it. But I think that I've had to experience some humility inside my step work. When I'm off alone, and I'm not saying I'm carrying humility right now about it, but what I'm saying is that I can learn that I'm part of and not the whole show, and and actually have the honesty and humility to see what I need to make amends for in my part. Like to take down that ego and be like that wasn't right, and see that I need a course correction. That 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 is, what I would call making me stronger, through that experience. And I'll leave that one there. Okay, Shannon B, here we go. What experience has taught you that honesty leads to connection, not rejection? Whoa.
Ties into what I was saying before too. My truth can help someone else. My experience, my pain can be of help to somebody else too. And it builds trust and a deeper bond between myself and a loved one or a woman that I'm working with in the program. Um, yeah, that's just a really, really beautiful thing to be able to experience. So get honest, I get real with self, and I get really connected with people.
Whoop. Oh, she drops the mic at 36 seconds. Now Milan Starcic enters. What experience has taught me that honesty leads to connection, not rejection? I would say the very experience of sponsorship
Oh,
and actually making myself vulnerable and not trying to be like somebody up on a recovery pedestal with them. Like I'm actually doing one of my step fours that I'm doing with one of my sponsees, and we're step fiving each other as we go. And it's actually a really bonding experience right now because, I'm listening to his vulnerability and he's listening to mine. And I think, I think some of the shit I'm saying shaking him a little bit, but it's okay. you know, that's all right because it's making me more human with him and it's increasing our connection. Woo! Okay, Shannon B. Oh, yeah, we got time for one more. How do you balance emotional honesty with spiritual discipline?
oh, that was emotional honesty with spiritual
So
discipline.
I'll read you the quote that I had before. The
Yeah,
12
please.
by 12 reminds us that nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen, but emotional restraint must be balanced with authenticity. How do you balance emotional honesty with spiritual discipline? This is a tough one for the end, baby.
Trying not to take people's inventory is a big one. Um, Realizing and understanding to myself, I don't have to agree with someone to be able to be of support to them. Um, just because I don't condone something doesn't give me a right to condemn someone, not to play God. Um, Being true to myself too, that if something is toxic or not healthy for me, not to get so wrapped up in it emotionally, but to distance and, you know, make sure I assert boundaries, but also realizing that a lot of things aren't about me. And if it triggers something in me, then it's showing me that there's more work that needs to be done there. Nothing feels worse than not pausing when agitated, saying stuff that's going to hurt somebody, and then having to go back and be like, ugh, I reacted on emotion rather than on spiritual principle.
Woo!
And what about
Shannon B brings it home with an extra 13 seconds of love.
that?
Okay, Milan. The 12 and 12 reminds us that nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen. But emotional restraint must be balanced with authenticity. How do I balance emotional honesty with spiritual discipline? You know, that question kind of makes me think of like the does it need to be said? Does it need to be said now? And does it need to be said by me? You know, and there's times where it's just like I don't have to go around being like told you so or telling you so in advance. You know, like I think sometimes we can rob others of their learning experience from that. You know, because that very kind of comment can sometimes shut people off from still being open minded when the lesson arrives. You know,
Yes.
and and like I think that there's times, I think that there's times when it's okay to just actually shed that anger and try to just be loving. You know, like I was saying in my example with my daughter, it's just like sometimes that restraint and that effort to change is what's needed, not a display of who I used to be. Ooh, this was a great little breakfast delight. I love you,
Thank
Shannon.
you,
Do you
my
want to
friend.
close with anything here?
So I'm gonna say thanks to everybody and thank you to you, Milan, for, always challenging me, helping me to see things in a different light and for setting a tone for a beautiful day to come.
Woo.
Love you
And
guys.
I'm gonna say it doesn't mean I'm people pleasing. It can mean I'm pleasing people. Tune in next episode
Woo-wee.
for more recovery fun. Bye bye, everybody. I
Bye,
love
friends.
you. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.